7:59.
7 on the dot.
7 o'clock on the dot. All right, welcome to the July 9th Board of Selectmen meeting for the town of Georgetown. Want to remind everybody that the meeting is being taped for our YouTube channel. And first off, is there any public comment? I don't see any, so throw it over to you.
All right, and I did not have any items to be added to the agenda tonight. Were there any from the board?
I had nothing.
Not here, no.
All right. And so anything?
No, I did think of something, but I think we've got enough today and mine can wait.
Perfect.
We'll wait, thanks.
All right, and we have a scheduled appointment of a public hearing for the Georgetown General Store LLC's liquor license application at 7:15, but we'll try to get through some other business before then. The next item up that we have are the minutes of the June 25th meeting. I did get those emailed out today, and if folks needed some more time, we could table unless they were.
I'm happy to move that we accept the minutes as presented. I did
second.
have a chance to read them.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Ron.
All right, all in favor of?
Yep,
Thank you.
3-0.
There were no items on the agenda under review or for assessing. Under correspondence, I included in your packet the Local Roads Assistance Program certification. It's an annual bit of monies that come in from Maine DOT to the town. This year, we're getting about $1,400 more than last year, which is an exciting bit, and it's likely to be applied to a reserve account to later be used to help offset taxes and paving. We also had the Maine Town and City Magazine June edition that, if you haven't picked it up yet, is in your inbox. We also had a memo regarding paid medical family leave, some of the rule changes that are rule adoptions that's coming up and Maine Municipal Associations take. There also was a letter from the City of Bath regarding a memorandum of understanding for temporary animal control officer assistance. We saw that the Georgetown Historical Society is having their annual meeting upcoming, and their new summer exhibit is something I'm excited to go check out. Georgetown has over 60 cemeteries, many of them on private land, and the folks at the Historical Society have done some good work about Georgetown roots. And in that Georgetown theme, there was also a flyer regarding the Richards Library book sale and an email soliciting some volunteer signups. And we also had 2 more emails from folks on Robin Hood Road regarding streetlights. Were there any questions on any of that correspondence? And I've got to admit 2 other folks. Try to keep an eye up there when we can.
I noticed.
Sorry, I should have.
That's okay. And there was no other correspondence.
Tyler, one thing about
Yes.
the streetlights at Robin Hood. Did you want to give an update on your conversation with CMP about that?
I was planning on giving that during my town administrator
Okay,
update a little
fine.
bit later.
I can wait.
Thank you, Bronwyn. And there were no other continuing items. And with that, there were actually, we did get a couple of minutes, but they'll be on the next agenda because they came in a little bit close to the meeting. And under committee updates, we have 4 folks to be appointed to various committees here in town.
Oh, are we there already? Just a sec.
We're making good time.
And I did want to just give a remark as we undertake these committee appointments.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right if I did that? Okay, great. You know, one of the things that I've noticed over the last several years is that community members and our residents, and I think other officials, have asked for and come to expect accountability and transparency in the ways that we govern our town, whether it's a particular board or our local government committees. And part of that has been about transparency. There's been a lot of discussion over the last election cycles about transparency and accountability. And so as a cornerstone, when I think about those precepts of that accountability, I think our community expects, and we should be able to deliver that all those who are serving as public officials, whether they are appointed or elected, do their very best to maintain neutrality in the discharge of their public duties. And so that is particularly important for instance, for the Board of Appeals, which has extensive decision-making authority. you think of the other boards that are either elected or appointed, they also have decision-making authority. And I think it's incumbent upon us as the municipal town leaders to ensure that all of our folks who are appointed do adhere to that condition of neutrality in all of their public service and all of their social media, and in the way they conduct their business on behalf of the town. I feel confident that we can expect that, and that the folks that we're appointing over the course of this year will deliver that. But I just want to note that because it's been something that keeps coming up, and particularly over the last few years. And later on, we can talk about some of the specific requests that have been made to me for more documentation. The agendas are great. I think we've become so much more accessible than we were, but people want more, and they're coming to me. And of course, I'm not saying I can do that because it's not my place. But you've heard me say before, we act as an entity, and there are expectations of us, and I want to make sure that we are giving that message to the folks that we appoint today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I have retrieved my papers. I am back on track to present nominations for the committees as presented in the agenda. And I'll do them one by one, I think, so that you can have an opportunity if you wish to speak or to ask for more information and to vote separately on each individual appointment separately. Rufus Brown, who I see is with us on the Zoom, has volunteered to serve on the Board of Appeals. He's uniquely qualified to do that as a real estate attorney and a former assistant attorney general, and most of the time resident of Georgetown, although in the interest of transparency, we can note that he is legally still a resident of Portland, where his law practice has been. And so I'm very happy and very grateful to him because he provided a whole curriculum vitae of his experience and his background, which we don't always get when people volunteer. And I do hope that we have no cause to invoke the Board of Appeals, but it's good to know that we have competent leadership on it if we do need them. And I would note that it's very much, their role is very much applying the rules, not making policy or the criteria for changes they can make is very strict. Anyhow, so I'm happy to nominate Rufus Brown to the Board of Appeals for a 5-year term.
I'd move to approve Rufus Brown's nomination.
Was that a second to Broman?
Oh, okay, I'll just second. So
If we need seconds, I don't know if we need seconds for nominations, but if you want them, we can have them. No problem. So can we vote?
Seconded, all in favor?
Great.
Perfect.
Welcome, Rufus. We've also had a volunteer application from Kelly James to serve on the Board of Appeals. It should be noted that Kelly is running for county commissioner in Sagadahoc, but that election is not until November. And if she wins that election, she'll probably have to step down because the positions, at least Tyler and I don't see them as being compatible. But in the meantime, we would have a full complement on the appeals board, and see what happens going forward. So I nominate Kelly James for a 5-year term, contingent upon the results of the November election.
Any second? No, I'll second that. All in favor?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, 2-0 to 1. Thank you for clarifying.
And
And-
finally, on the Board of Appeals, Scott Weller, an alternate member to a 5-year term. Scott also volunteered. He's also not living in Georgetown full-time at the moment, although his wife is on so many committees, I don't know how they ever get anyplace else. But he's a small business owner with expertise in computer and internet, and is anxious to learn all about the ordinances that run the town. So I nominate Scott.
I second.
We happy? Are we
Yeah, yeah.
voting? Discussion?
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
And finally, we've had an application from John Hentz, who probably needs no introduction to anybody, to serve on the Recreation Committee, which is a new role for him. He's been a fire department member for these many years, and that would be a full member for a 3-year term. The membership of that committee is pretty fluid. It doesn't specify a maximum number. So at this point, they're all full members.
I second that nomination.
All right. All in favor?
Okay,
All right, there you go.
Beautiful.
and that's it for my report.
If I may make one note about the residents in the Board of Appeals, when I was serving with Ole and Peter Stevens and Garrett Corbin, for the last couple of years of Garrett Corbin's service as a Board of Appeals member, just for those of you wondering about the residency issue, he was not a resident of Georgetown either, and it did not affect his ability to actually serve the town well. And he's now the town administrator for Carabasset Valley. So very knowledgeable person. I expect great things from this board.
Thank you, Aria. And with that, we would get on into liaison updates. We have a couple more minutes before the hearing kicks off, and we've seen folks continue to come in, so we want to stick to that 7:15. Are there any liaison updates from the board?
I have my planning board. Yeah, they just, nothing really spectacular happened in the planning board. Just learning about, I'm learning about easements and stuff like that, and they're quite confusing at times. That's about all I can tell you about that planning board thing.
Thank you very much, John.
The Conservation Commission met last night. They set a date for collecting a coastal cleanup. It's sometime in September. The cleanup is basically for a month, but they'll be at the transfer station one Saturday morning, I believe morning. They were going to talk to Jim about the best timing and the exact date. And of course, they're working on a number of other programs. John Wood is doing the survey, the final survey of the last piece of the Ipcar Preserve. He's working on it. He will have it done before town meeting of 2025. That is the latest on that topic.
Thank you,
And
Bob.
that's all I have. Solid Waste meets on Thursday.
For Rec Committee has recently met, and they've got a new chair, which is Judy Teller. The vice chair remains the same, which is Gary Pankey, and the secretary is one of our newer members, Susan Taylor. They are planning out the Fall Frolic, which will be on September 14. And you'll soon see the sign-up Genius sheet for anyone who wants to volunteer or to make donations of hot dog buns, napkins, waters, the usual. But it's in companionship with, or in partnership with Friends of Reed State Park Art Show again this year. 2 different locations, lots to do, so just block off the whole day.
Thank you, thank you.
Georgetown Jammers will be playing too.
Oh,
Yes.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
So outside of liaison updates, were there any updates board members wanted to share in the next minute before we kick off a hearing? I could use a filibuster. If not,
Nothing comes to mind for
I
me.
think we might just want to hang tight for 30 seconds and then kick off the hearing.
I think that South Carolina heat got to you.
I ended up avoiding the South Carolina heat, the car reconfiguration, and I was spared 18 hours with my father one
Oh.
way.
We're gonna have to talk about that. Go Army.
Amen to that. And she got promoted private first class, but we're done talking about my sister, because I think we have a public hearing coming on up. So we declare the hearing open.
Okay. Left, do any, no, there's nothing special about it. It's at 7:15, so we'll declare the public hearing on the Georgetown General Store LLC liquor license application. Is there comment? How do we, I can't remember it's been so long since we've done
So now
one.
that we've declared it open, we just want to note that it's an off-premise malt spiritus and vinous liquor license for the store, and any members of the public present or online are welcome to comment in. And if the folks that have put in the license just want to introduce themselves and say hello, it's more than welcome as well to get things going.
I'm Leslie Kalenda. This is.
Could you get them to come over so we can see them on the screen? Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Kalenda, and my husband Adam is here, and our two kids, Allie and Bennett. And we have recently formed the store. It's not considered new ownership. It's considered actually a new store in the state of Massachusetts, in the state of Maine. Secretary of State in our new charter number. Adam and I have been on West Georgetown Road. We purchased from Angus Crosby 7 years ago. Adam's been coming up since he was a child, and his relatives 2 generations before then. And when we came up 11 years ago for the first time with my daughter, I basically didn't even get out of the driveway and said, this is where I want to make old bones. And as we've been here, we've seen the change in the store and decided that when Rusty and Chris put the for sale sign up, that this was something that we wanted to pursue. The island needs this, not just the year-round residents, but also the beach goers and the tourists that head out and our neighbors. So our goal is to meet the needs that exist here on the island in the store. Any questions?
We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Right, so,
And were there any other, we want to make sure if any other members of the public wanted to chime in, because it looks like there were no questions.
Okay, any comments, concerns, questions about the store, about the application, our intent? Happy to answer those.
Projected opening date?
Great
Hard ones.
question. So we have done we've tried to do not 100% renovation. We've kept the footprint the same. Adam's completely reconstructed the cooler so that it's up to date, more energy efficient. We, with the help of some of our neighbors and friends, have begun to gut the kitchen area. We have everything inspected from the various, propane, pine tree, heating and refrigeration. Have checked everything out. Things are getting sanitized and professionally cleaned by the end of the week. Our applications are in with the ag department. I have already a call into the liquor inspector. Everybody seems to be very positive and supportive and wanting to get this moving as quickly as possible. But we also know that we're not the only application in the state. So we're in that line. So ideally, we want it to be open already. Lofty, but our goal is still by 2 weeks. So we've reached out to our vendors. I've submitted the paperwork that we need. It's really just a health inspection and ag signing off and liquor signing off. But this, we could still get in there even if we're not permitted with the liquor yet. And at least get some basic inventory and start meeting some basic needs, build a strong foundation and work our way up from there.
And the liquor license that we're looking at tonight is really a continuation of what's been done in the past.
Yes.
You're selling beer, you're selling wine, no consumption on the premises.
Correct, exactly. Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
I've got no more, I've got no questions, so.
Any members of the public?
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Anything from the public? See anything?
Anyone else?
Is everybody here just to say yay and support? Is that, no, seriously, I mean that, that's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Yeah, I do.
This is the
That's great.
biggest turnout I've seen it.
I know.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
So we declare the
We got
hearing
some
closed.
thumbs up over in Zoom land too.
Oh, good.
All right, well, declare the hearing closed now.
And that hearing closed at 7:20 PM. And if the board is amenable, we could take an item out of order and jump down to new business and issue an approval.
I'm
And then
for it.
folks could go on with their night if they want, or stay and learn about all kinds of fun stuff.
I move that we approve the liquor application from the General Store LLC.
I second it. Sorry, brother.
All right, discussion. We've had it already. All in favor?
All right, look at that.
3-0.
And just while you folks are here, we will work to get the municipal officers signing off and we'll be in touch sometime tomorrow.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're putting them to work, right? The little
Well,
ones.
not behind the counter. That's illegal. On the floor only.
In stock
Thank you.
inventory,
Thanks,
yeah.
you guys, and thanks everybody else for showing your support. I think it's great. Thank you.
That's the biggest crowd yet. It's
It was-
been
yeah.
wild.
Yeah,
It almost outnumbered Zoom too.
Y'all better step up your numbers.
And so now that we're jumping back to the agenda, I will get to the town administrator update. I just want to give an update on streetlights. I know Bronwyn had a question off of that as well. The light on Bay Point Road has been disconnected. They have not removed the light. And in talking with April from CMP, they're willing to come down and physically remove the light. And she's a little disappointed it didn't happen on their end, just because if a new resident moves in and sees a light out and reports it to CMP, they could go back and turn it on and start this all over. I told CMP to wait, particularly because of the next update. In speaking with CMP about the Robin Hood Road light that Miss Reese has brought to our attention and other residents in the area have discussed, there was actually some confusion for a couple of days from CMP as to who owned the light and trying to locate the pole, the street light, et cetera. The wattage was not what typically is expected in a residential area, and they all around were confused. Since then, they discovered that it is in fact a town light. We have been paying for it, keeping the lights on. And in speaking with Charlie and John, there really is a safety need for a light near that corner. And so I've also spoken with at least one family I've been down to view the site twice now. The first time, lay eyes on the light. Second time, see what other poles might be amenable. I do know at least one family would like there to be a light near that corner, not wedded to the location, but does have some winter weather concerns. So I think in terms of streetlights, I'd want to ask if the board, if they're comfortable with me continuing to explore the options to move the light. Realistically, if we are going to move the light from the front of Miss Reese's lawn, the corner of that lawn where it is, there really is only one other pole that could handle it. What I will say is that pole has better tree cover for a good chunk of the year, but we know in Maine, we lose those leaves, not too far from now. However, CMP has said that they could shield the light as well, which would drop down some shielding, effectively not having the light permeate into windows, but going down. And they also could lessen the wattage. But I knew that there were a lot of moving parts and I didn't want to make a judgment call without checking in with the board. And if we need more time, I'm happy to do that as well. But I do think the safety concern is a real thing come the winter, and CMP will not do a seasonal option. I asked them twice.
Okay. It's absolutely the safety concern. And then you have all the people that signed,
Right.
the petition essentially to have us address the light pollution and their concern about brown tail moth. So I'm in favor of you continuing to research options and to try to come up with a good compromise solution.
It definitely sounds as if the wattage should be reduced because they're saying that it's much higher than normal for
Yes.
residential lighting. And I think there are shields that will provide the necessary light on the road where you need it without spilling over into everybody's windows. If we can achieve that, those through those two options, I'd certainly be in favor of it.
And if we did move that light to, I believe it's pole 30, the only other one, it actually would increase better visibility on the corner piece.
Right.
Whereas
Yeah,
where the
because it's
light,
not really close to the corner
no,
where it is.
no.
Yeah.
So I recognize that when we tackle that, I imagine there'll be other thoughts, concerns when we move a light, but I do think that it's worth continuing the discussion on. I also wanted to just give an update, and as the board knows, we do have a memorandum of understanding with Bath to fill in on our animal control officer position. And I do just want to note for folks that the job is posted on MMA. We've had over 40 views, and excuse the pun, but we've had no bites yet. That said, I do think that we are starting to beat the bushes, so to speak, to really see if we can find someone local who'd be interested in that role. And just for members of the public, I know that I normally am speaking to the board, but we do have an audience. In the event that you have an animal control officer situation that happens during regular business hours of the town office, give us a call and we will relay that information on to Jim McKnight, the animal control officer in Bath. In the event that it is after hours or it's an emergency call, and we know that the difference between my neighbor's dog's in my front yard versus I just got bit by my neighbor's dog, that's obviously a call to dispatch and they'll get someone down. And
Dispatch meaning 911.
yes, or Saginaw County, depending on the severity of the,
Well, I
David.
mean, people just don't know what dispatch means. So if
yes.
who do I call, Tyler?
911 if there's blood, but if there's not blood and it's a borderline emergency, there's a lesser dispatch line. And if it's really just a neighbor's dog in the front yard, call me. So, but I am not the ACO. I did not take that oath. And just a brief update regarding the memorandum of understanding between the town and the school regarding the adventure trail. I just wanted to give.
That's what I should have reported about.
Well,
We talked about that at great length. Did you get a memo from the Conservation Commission?
what I heard from Jess today was asking that we table it until at least our next meeting, which it wasn't even going to be on tonight's agenda other than an update anyway. But there were still some questions to work out, some language changes, and I think Bronwyn could speak to it more than I could.
The issues that were raised were, when are they discontinuing the adventure trail? It's not at all clear from, it says that they're going to, they will remove it, but there's also no reference to insurance for that trail. And so if it's not being removed right away, there was concern that the school's insurance might not cover it. There's also ambiguity around tree cutting. The memorandum talks about trees that are near the structure that's out there, the permanent structure with a roof. And the commission felt that it was not so much a question of nearness as of hazard. If and who was to decide that that tree is a hazard? They're not prepared to give up the authority to permit individual tree by tree cutting. So those are the issues that they want to clarify in the document.
Bronwyn, do you know if anyone has talked with Nina Willett or Caitlin Miller?
I know that I spoke with Nina last week prior to leaving, and Nina had revised the MOU, and then it has since gone, and I think there are more questions coming up. So I do have an email out to Jess about setting up a time for Nina, Jess, and myself to get together, and whoever else to get it done.
Okay, great.
Whoever the new principal is and whatever that, because Nina's leaving, has left, yeah?
Well, Nina's training Caitlin Miller.
Okay,
Caitlin Miller's the new principal.
okay.
And the good news is we want to tap into that institutional memory while it's close.
That's
So,
right.
Perfect. So that is kind of where we're at with the MOU. And the last thing where I tagged other, today I got a reminder email that the Maine Town and City County Management Conference that happens annually is rapidly closing its window on registrations. That is a conference that I attended last year. This year it's in August, the 14th, 15th, and the morning of the 16th. Registration is around $250. The hotel this morning was just about $500 for the 2 nights. I can tell you since then, I've been looking at Airbnbs and I found better options to go. if the board is amenable to have me head up, it's a good networking opportunity as well as a whole lot of skills. And now that this is the week of my year anniversary at Georgetown, I know there are questions I wish I could have asked last year that I now know to ask. So
Is this in Augusta, Tyler?
it's up at Sugarloaf
Oh, is it? Sure.
or at Sunday River.
Sunday
So
River, okay. Well, I move that you definitely take advantage of that professional development.
thank you.
I'll second that.
And John seconded.
I'm in favor.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. And we will get that registered up tomorrow. And with that, if there weren't any other questions, I just wanted to say this last year has been, oh, and I see a
No,
chat.
just, it's fine. You should finish your sentence and then
Okay.
come back to that.
Perfect. So effectively, over the last year, I've grown a lot, learned a lot, and I'm really excited to continue on in this for the next year with you guys. So, and there is a
Thank you for your service.
chat. Thank you.
Just about the adventure trail.
Just a-
It was like,
Update. Where is it? Okay, the adventure trail is currently in the process of being removed and that work should be complete by the end of August, just as an FYI.
okay.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, thank you. And with that, I turn this over to Mary for a brief finance director update.
Sure.
Or not necessarily brief if you don't want to.
No, I don't have a whole lot to offer. Whereas I'm still plugging away with the auditors on last year's audit. I sent out a memo to them, they've sent a memo back, and then we're gonna be having a meeting. I'm also prepping for this year's audit. Past week or so, I've been trying to get as many deeds in as we can. And then just a reminder that I'm on vacation starting next Wednesday, the 17th. I have a dentist appointment, doctor appointment or something that day, so I just thought I'd
That's a
just
great
leave.
way to
That's no
start
vacation.
I know, I just leave after that and go to camp. So, me and putting me back here, at the day of your next meeting, the 23rd. So
Well
that's
deserved.
about it. That's about it. I think.
Cool.
Thank you. And next up, if the code enforcement officer wants to join the table and we all huddle in close.
I'm sure it's Lauren.
Hi. Good to see you again.
I see you again.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's how you face.
Yeah.
And Mike is on camera. Golden.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
So thank you. So I just wanted to update about a issue that I'm looking into here in town. So recently I received a third-hand report that there was a campground operating in the town that was not approved by the planning board, which is required. I looked into it further and into a website where you can put some information in, and a website came up with this campground that has about 10 campsites, it looks like, on about 25 acres of property. This site also has many pictures and reviews of the campground. Thanks to Tyler's IT ability, I was able to download, he was able to download a number of documents that gives a really good outline of what the campground has. And these go back to 2018, 2019. So it appears that it's been operating for a few years. Also, there's a document in there that talks about all the amenities that this campground has. And on there is a picture describing this an enclosed portable toilet inside of a tent. Not a porta potty, but more of what you'd see maybe on a boat or a camper, something like that. And also a couple sites that look like it's right against some watershed property as well, which isn't allowed. Late June, I sent an email to the state to see if there was this particular area what did Georgetown have for licensed campgrounds, I should say. And they came back, and only campground that is licensed is the Saginaw Bay Campground, which of course is not this one, this particular one. So our building and demolition ordinance require, again, that campgrounds be reviewed and approved by them. And as well, in Maine, any campground, whether it's tenting or any type that receives any kind of compensation, it requires a license from Department of Health and Human Services, their health inspection program. And they have an application process that must be approved to include what campgrounds do with their wastewater, like toilets and washing dishes, gray water, black water, that kind of thing. I have not spoken to the folks yet. This is very preliminary, informational, and just wanted to update you and discuss it if for next steps, what I might think or what you might think.
Is there a particular reason you haven't reached out to the landowner?
I wanted to first have you look at it as a legal liaison and to see, before I go to there, I kind of want an idea if what I want to do. Like, do we want to go right in and force it, shut it down, or the most least thing would be, meeting with them, get their side of the story, if you will, verify this, all the information, and see if we want to go that route as, getting them licensed and approved, or do we step right up to the enforcement piece? Which I'm happy to do either one.
I hear you. I haven't done many investigations as a prosecutor and working with law enforcement. I always want all of the information. I want all the information that's available so that you and then we can make the most informed decision. So that's what my preference would be. Next step, reach out to the landowner and hear from them how they've been proceeding and under what what authority.
Sure.
Make sure all of that is in fact their business.
Mhm.
I will say that the site that sponsors this, that promotes this campground, has a place where you could sign up to have campers on your land. And it does say that you have to have a toilet, but it does not talk about any kind of a permit. It does not suggest that you look into the rules of wherever you live and see if you need to apply to somebody. I think when you have as many as 10 sites, it might occur to you that something beyond word of mouth was required. And the whole toilet provision thing is pretty scary the way it's sketchily described. But I agree that we need to not immediately take someone to court or close down an operation. I think we need to put them on notice that they are breaking the law and that they have missed for below these, how many years, the required procedures. And then we have to see we have to inspect as well. What are the sanitary arrangements? Would they meet the requirements if the application were filed? Or is it a bigger problem because they can't, without improvement, meet those requirements? And at that point, we'll have to consider closing it, because you can't continue with unsanitary public facilities. That's my view.
At a minimum, you have to get a permit.
Right,
Campground,
right,
yeah,
right, you have to
you're gonna
be-
have to start that whole
Right.
process.
Right.
You've got a pond on either side, and I know there's a stream that runs down through the middle of it, so that's a whole bunch of natural resources right there that he's impacting, so there's a bunch of things to look into with that, in that case.
Yes.
How long do y'all think, this is obviously new to me, how long do y'all think that people have been aware that it's been here?
I know that online, the reviews go back to 2018, and there are over 200 written reviews, over 500 overall, so at least for 6 years it's been going on.
But
Right, but
that's
anyone
not what she's
locally-
asking.
I
She's asking how, if
I had
we,
no idea about
we
it.
certainly didn't know about it, and
Yeah.
no one in this room knew about it.
Yeah,
I've
we
never
just,
heard of it.
Right.
we just, yeah.
In
so-
all the time that I was here before, we never heard anything about this at all.
Yeah, so
Never.
it's just
Yeah.
Right.
popping up.
Yeah.
Right,
right.
like out of the
No
blue.
pun intended, yeah.
No, seriously, yeah.
So, all the more reason to have a conversation,
Agreed.
build a bridge,
Mhm.
see, we are a community. There's enough fighting going on in the world, right?
I totally agree with the approach.
So, okay, great, thanks. And
Okay.
it sounded like you did too? To have a conversation?
Oh, at a minimum,
Yeah.
that's, and the biggest thing is the resource
Right,
protection
sure,
area
sure.
that he's
Mhm.
Absolutely.
impacting, that's huge.
Yes,
So,
agreed.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering, did anybody have a sense of, you've given me some physical sense of the property when you've said the stream and the pond. And, you know, so we got it, Bob remarking in the chat as well, but I'm just trying to get a sense of this. So that would be helpful to you. You can, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, and I know you would, take some pictures.
And,
Yes, absolutely.
and it looks like Bob's noting that there are restrictions on how close to the water campsites can be.
Right,
Mhm.
And from the pics posted that some are too close. And I think just one of the big things from my perspective is we just want to make sure we're being fair and equitable to the other campground in town too, that has
Right.
followed all the rules. So
right, of course.
Okay,
now can I close the chat? So
All right.
others that.
I have my marching orders. I will take care of it and
Okay.
report back.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
great,
you.
thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Can I ask one other question? What's the current status of the Blueberry Hill septic situation?
I don't have an update from what we know already. I think last I knew we were my recollection, without looking at the file, is that we were waiting to hear something about.
Well, we were waiting for
turning the
to
road
see a deed
Well,
easement.
Right, that's
Right.
my understanding. I had not seen anything like that.
Is that coming from their attorney or our attorney?
Them, it's coming from
That's
them.
there.
Yeah, I assume
And-
so. I just wanna make sure.
And I think that I just feel like we've been sitting on that for a long time. How long are we prepared to suspend judgment about the livability of that property without septic? That's
Oh,
my concern.
I'll follow up with the applicant and see where that's at. Maybe give you a better sense of what we might want to do. If that works.
Thanks.
Okay, will do.
All right, have a good night.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. And so now the next item on the agenda is just suggested changes from office staff regarding the upcoming fee schedule changes. So at the next meeting on the 23rd, we will be holding a public hearing that I hope is as well attended as tonight's public hearing.
Right.
To go over the fees that we're looking at, the office staff, Mike, myself, Mary and Alex, really Mary, Alex and I, for the biggest part of the discussion, went through and just kind of thought rough targets on where we think these fees should land in an ideal world. And, you know, if the board is comfortable, we could share this kind of document with the different committee chairs. I also recommend that, just as an aside from our changes, that as liaisons, that
Mhm.
we all check in with the committee chairs or the full committees and just remind them. And even committees that don't have fees, you know, they are still entitled to come to a public hearing and may have some input. And happy to run down them if we wanted to on a high level, or kind of just see where the board's thoughts were.
I didn't get around to talking with anybody today, so I mean, I haven't shared it with any of my people, any of my committees. I.
Well, it just came out, so we haven't shared it
Yes,
with
right.
committees, but I think that we need to make a point of, especially the committees that have fees in question, the planning board, the town-owned property management board. They need to see these suggestions and make counter suggestions or,
Right.
you know, dispute these if they don't like them. I would say that in general, what the office staff has done is to increase the charge per square foot for planning board approval. And that translates into, instead of 20 cents a square foot, 40 cents a square foot. And that doubles some of the basic permitting stuff. It's probably more helpful for people to look at this on their own and compare it to the previous fee schedule than to talk through it, but that would be my thought. I mean, I did look at it this afternoon, and I just think we need feedback.
Is this document publicly available?
This document has one typo that I am going to fix and change the interim to suggested changes or something in the background, but yes, I can make this publicly available in the morning.
I think people would want to see it. Again, it's
Definitely.
one of the questions that comes up when, to me, is how can we see what you folks
Right.
see on the select board? So obviously they can't see everything. They can't see what we have in executive session, but you know, it's a public meeting. So I think there'd be some interest in seeing these proposed fee changes.
Mhm.
Perfect. And really, we wanted just to make sure that if we were gonna use this as a vehicle for the discussion in 2 weeks,
Yeah,
that the board was comfortable and that we weren't all in
Right.
left field. So,
right.
perfect. So we will work on that. We've tackled under new business, the approval of an off-premise spiritus and Venice liquor license. And now we have a request from the Georgetown Housing Initiative regarding the Mid-Coast Council of Governments. And I know Jim Peavy was on, he's still on, and I see Susie Wren up in the corner. If they want to talk briefly about their request, and we can go from there.
Okay, hi, nice to see you all tonight.
Hi.
I'm Susie Wren, and I'm here with Jim Peavy, and we're representing our working group for the Georgetown Attainable Housing Initiative. We did come to ask a very specific question, and I did give you a document about that. But first, I'd just like to give a very brief overview of the work that we've done to come to this point. We had our first initial sort of wayfinding meeting in November. We had about 30 people there. Many of those people joined us as a working group to do research for the past 7 months. In May, which was 6 months after that first meeting, we had a public forum, and we had standing room only at the GHS. That was wonderful. Lots of different voices in the room. We presented the chairs of our different committees, presented our research, and took questions and comments and lots of conversation from the audience. One of the major questions that came out of that, besides many that have to do with, is this possible? Is the horse out of the barn? Lots of these types of discussions. But a major request was for us to have an independent needs assessment and have data that is independently recorded. We know that the Mid-Coast Council of Governments, and specifically Charlotte Nutt, who works for them, she's a real data queen, and she's been doing some amazing work with MCOG, and that's their short name for Mid-Coast Council of Governments. She has lots of data, and it's what we looked at as a steering committee and as a working group for the last 6 or 7 months to really give us a guidance in what we discussed, what we researched to go forward. But knowing that there were people in the audience who were potentially stakeholders in this initiative, we started meeting with them. Jim and I met with several people after that meeting. And we also had a meeting with Charlotte Nutt from MCOG about her data and how she felt about honing that data down to something that would be more specifically a needs assessment from what's already been done for our town. And Jim and I felt from that meeting, and so did Charlotte, that it might be worth asking the select board, and that's why we're here tonight, to use some of the technical assistance hours that come with the town's membership to the Mid-Coast Council of Governments in this fiscal year, to put some of that data together and see if that would give us the independent picture that people are asking for, and also make a roadmap for how we move forward. So that is our request tonight, is to see if the select board would consider allowing our group through Charlotte Nutt. It would go directly, there wouldn't be any money changing hands. It would just be using hours that are every year set out to the town because of membership in MCOG. And so I'm wondering if you could consider that idea. And before I hand it back over to you, Charlotte thought that she could probably do this work with between 10 and 15 hours of that time. And so that's what we're looking at. I believe that the total hours that the town gets in a given year it averages about 16 hours. And I believe Tyler can maybe talk to something more specific because he talked with Matt Eddy earlier. So I'd like to entertain any questions. Jim and I are here to talk about this, please.
So I just piggyback off of that, Susie, and thank you for the work that the initiative is doing. You know, as somebody who wants to live in Georgetown someday, selfishly, I'm very eager to see affordable housing down here. I spoke with Amber Jones, the county administrator, because our membership in MCOG is paid for by the county. She didn't see any issues and actually was excited that our group wants to get plugged in. She also pointed out some of the MCOG Five Rivers Attainable Housing Group that they've got going on with good resources. And Jim regularly attends those as well. So we're plugged in the right places. In the number of hours I spoke with Mr. Eddy, we do get 16 hours in the year. And I would say that spending the entirety, potentially 15 of the hours on this project at this first meeting of the first part of the year, I'm a little hesitant on, but I do think that I've worked with Charlotte at the town of Topsom. She is the data queen. That is true. I know Charlotte could definitely make good progress in on this goal. And I also don't think that it's something that necessarily, if the board were to say tonight, we're willing to give 4 of our 16 hours, 25%, see what data and things we could get back and potentially extend, renew. But I just wanted to share that it is 16 hours for the year. Some years we use MCOG very little.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask.
Other years, you know, particularly in the aftermath of the storms down at across the coast, we've partnered with MCOG on some grants pieces. I know that MCOG, if there's a grant I were to apply for but needed that technical assistance, you know, they're there as a resource. So I'm hesitant to give away all the cookies in the cookie jar, but I do think that there are some years we don't use all 16 hours either. So for what that background is worth.
Go with part of it, see what it does.
Yeah, I would move to approve. You know, it's hard because we have a situation where sometimes you might use a quarter of them and it's a use it or lose it, right? It doesn't roll over.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'd move to approve up to 8 hours as a start. But
I could go in with that. And see what is the result of that and what the prognosis is. And but I think it would be foolish to sign off on all the hours at the very beginning of the year.
Yeah, beginning of the hurricane season at that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And we'll work very closely with Charlotte as she starts digging into the data and get a better feel for what it's going to take. But
Right.
We're very hopeful we'll get the local data that breaking down from the county or the region wide to give us some good information to move forward.
Okay.
Susie's right. There were a lot, you know, we were there. There were a lot of different stakeholders. It's an important issue. And I think we do need to put some resources to this issue as a town and stand behind the movement that you have successfully built so far. Thank you for that, by the way.
I'll go with the 8. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So.
You're
we need
welcome,
to-
and
Do we
thank
need a
you.
motion or do we need?
Oh, there was a motion and a
Oh,
second.
sorry.
No, that's
Oh.
okay.
All in favor?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't hear the motion, sorry.
That's all right. We were thinking about hurricane season.
I was anyway.
And with that, that concludes the item of public business tonight, save for public comment. I would note that the liquor license application will need the signature of the board. There also is a deed for a cemetery lot at Mountainside that the board would need to sign off on, and various appointment certificates. So we will work to get those out, and I turn this back to John for public comment before our executive session.
Is there any
And may I
public
just
comment?
say thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
Is there any other public comment? I do not see any. So, with no public comment, we'll be moving to executive session.
I move to enter executive session.
And we gotta use this, we gotta say what the executive session's for.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And I did it right this
Yeah.
time. without the-
Yes, I did notice that. I move pursuant to 1 MRS section 4056C, that we enter executive session for the business of the acquisition of real property or economic development.
Perfect.
Perfect, cool.
And then all in favor?
All in
Yep.
favor, yeah.
Perfect. You're in executive session and let's hit Paul. Back in public.
I move to adjourn.
Yep. Second it.
All in favor?
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night, thank
Good
you.
night.
Stay safe. We still have power.
And we'll see you at 10 a.m. Bronwyn
Yes,
on Zoom.
on the grant thing. Mhm.
Oh, tomorrow, okay.
Which one of the grants is that?
It's
The
the
resiliency
resiliency.
grant for the
Oh, yeah.
Conservation Commission.
It's time for
Just
Zoom.
wrapping that up,
Okay.
you know, well.
You have to be there too.
No, I don't. I don't
I'm teasing
believe
you.
so.
I'm teasing you.
Ah.